fall was a surreal moment. For most of the time I'd been covering Greensill, it felt as if I was shouting into an abyss. I would bore friends and colleagues harping on about a fast-growing supply chain finance (SCF) business that was either going to change banking forever or would be the next major financial scandal. But I couldn't tell if anyone else cared. Then suddenly Greensill blew up and everyone cared. I wasn't the only journalist covering Greensill's rise and fall. Far from it. Reporters at Bloomberg, the Financial Times, the Sunday Times, and Reuters all did sterling work uncovering the reality about Lex's business, as did several of my Dow Jones colleagues at Financial News and the Wall Street Journal. Many of these reporters had their own brushes with Greensill's aggressive public relations and legal strategies. At one point, Greensill even took Reuters to court, and lost. When a big business collapses, the reasons are complex. Greensill was no different. COVID-19 helped trigger Greensill's collapse. It shocked the markets and rattled through Greensill's business. But Greensill Capital also just wasn't very profitable. It aimed to hit overly ambitious revenue targets to sustain its sky-high valuation. It grew too fast and was far too reliant on just a handful of key relationships, despite Lex's claims that it had a diverse pool of clients, funders, and other critical partners. Above all, Lex Greensill was telling investors they were buying into a super-safe form of financing when he was actually making billions of dollars in loans to risky enterprises that could not pay them back. The whole scheme had echoes of the worst elements of the financial crisis, when risky US home mortgages were dressed up as something much safer and sold off to unwitting investors. All of that made for a fascinating story to cover. But what most interested me about Greensill was Lex and the incredible network of supporters he had gathered along the way. Lex was smart and hard-working. He was a compelling salesman. He was certainly driven. But he was otherwise unremarkable. He didn't party hard. He dressed conservatively. He often seemed bland, robotic. Somehow, he had won over big banks, giant asset managers, the world's biggest investors, top politicians, long-tenured financial executives. They were all on board. They were all believers. For anyone reporting on the company, it was a constant challenge to reconcile the presence of this extraordinary group of powerful supporters with the numerous red flags about Lex and his business. This book is an attempt to build on years of reporting to explain what happened at Greensill and to figure out why so many top bankers, investors, and politicians went along for the ride, why they got behind Lex even when it was clear he was taking aggressive risks with other people's money. My reporting draws on interviews with hundreds of individuals who graciously shared their time and knowledge to help reveal the truth. These include former Greensill executives, staff, shareholders, and investors in the assets that Greensill sold. Staff at Greensill's business partners, including the giant Wall Street banks and the asset managers, the insurance companies, and the tech platforms that Greensill's business relied upon. Friends and old colleagues, lawyers, regulators, politicians, and other government officials. I've also drawn on emails, letters, internal reports, financial presentations, spreadsheets, legal contracts, photos, audio and video recordings, and other documentary evidence. In almost all cases, my sources agreed to help me on the condition that I did not reveal their identities. Some of them cited non-disclosure agreements. Others feared retribution from parties involved in the Greensill scandal. In some cases, I have reconstructed scenes and dialogue based on information gleaned from these sources. Readers should not assume that a person named in the book or quoted here has spoken to me. Where there have been conflicting accounts, I have relied on the most plausible description and the most credible sources. Sometimes I have included notes to reflect alternative views. Lex Greensill declined several